What's up guys, it's Wholesome Joe back again with another video. This one's going to be a little bit different than any of the other stuff I've been doing, and I've been watching a lot of these lately and I thought it would be fun to try to do one of these myself. We're going to do a tier list where I'm going to rank all of the Ghostbusters Proton Packs from pretty much every single piece of media, the video game, all of the movies, the cartoons, the comic books, you name it. We're going to rank all of them. Well, this is going to be a ranking of my personal opinion, as all of these can be completely subjective, and your ranking might be different. That's totally fine. I thought it would just be fun to go through all of the different versions of the Proton Pack, kind of go through the reasons why I like them more than the others, the reasons why I don't like them, and just kind of put them in a ranking so I can visually see where they all kind of stand, because I definitely we don't really think about it that much, but I definitely like some of the designs of the Proton Packs better than others, and the more we get, the more my opinion sort of changes or stays the same. So we're just going to jump right in. We're going to go through each of these, not in any particular order. I may just do it completely at random, and I'm just going to go through every single Proton Pack. I've tried to figure out and pull all of the ones I'm aware of, so if there's ones I've missed, or if there's Proton Packs that you can think of from different forms of media that I missed, let me know in the comments, because I don't want to leave any of them out. I tried to dig deep and even find the deep cut ones that I know a lot of people maybe don't even know existed. We're not going into the toys. We're just going into what was the Proton Packs that we've seen on screen or that were used in the movies, in the video games, or in media. So we're not going to be we're not going to be using the HasLab packs, we're not going to be using the fan-made props, or we're not going to be using the Spirit Halloween costume stuff or the Real Ghostbusters toys from the 80s and 90s. We're going to be just talking about the Proton Packs as they have been used in the actual media. So Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, Afterlife, Frozen Empire, the cartoon, Extreme Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2016, however you feel about that. Let's see what else, and all new props, new versions of the Proton Pack that we've seen in the comic book and things like that. So just, as a disclaimer, you won't see the toys. I'm not ranking the toys and physical things that you can buy. I'm ranking them as they exist in the canon, and basically just the design choices that went into each one of these. So let's jump right into it. I said I was going to do this at random. It's still going to be kind of random. The first one we're going to talk about is the Ghostbusters 1, the OG, the original, the Proton Pack design that started it all. Now, before we even talk about this, I'm just going to go ahead and do this, because we all know the answer. This should be undisputed. Maybe you have a different opinion, that's fine, but I feel like this is going to be probably unanimous amongst all Ghostbusters fans, and we can talk about it, but the Ghostbusters 1 Proton Pack is S tier. I mean, it's the design that started it all. It is probably one of the most recognized and one of the coolest movie props ever designed, ever created. It is part of the reason why a lot of us even got into this fandom, is because we thought the Proton Packs were so cool. I made Proton Packs out of cereal boxes, cardboard boxes. I even strapped a mailbox on my back at one point, trying to pretend to be a Ghostbuster when I was a kid. So the memories I have of these movies and these props in general, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I thought the original Proton Pack was so cool. Now, I will say, disclaimer, I remember I was like 8 years old when I saw the first Ghostbusters movie. I was at a friend's house, and I can't remember more than that. I just remember Ghostbusters was on, and I was like, what is this? What is this weird movie? And I was only 8. But I saw the Proton Pack, but it wasn't until I watched the cartoon a little bit later that I really made the connection, and then I wanted to go back and watch the movie. And so there's been sort of a mixture between the cartoon and the movie that really stuck with me, and that is the reason why I'm such a huge fan of Ghostbusters. And I actually have some weird stories of growing up. My aunts and uncles, they were really into sports and go outside and play, and I would always just want to sit and watch Ghostbusters, the cartoon, on TV. And I remember my aunt telling me that she got mad and was like, you got to go outside and play. And I was like, I don't want to go outside and play, I want to watch Ghostbusters. And her and my mom got into an argument because my mom was like, if he wants to watch Ghostbusters, he's going to watch Ghostbusters. And so I kind of like, that kind of stuck with me, because if my mom hadn't like stuck up for me and like allowed me to be the kid that I wanted to be, I don't even know that I would like Ghostbusters as much as I do now. So, you know, shout out to my mom for doing that. But yeah, so Proton Pack, original Ghostbusters, 100% S tier. We don't even really need to talk about the reasons why, other than that it's the OG. It is every Proton Pack that comes after it is based on it. So yeah, it's definitely going to be in the S tier. We might put some others in the S tier. We'll see. But definitely for now, Ghostbusters 1, S tier. Okay, moving right along. Next, we're going to talk about, I guess we'll just go in order. I said random, but we'll just go in order of the movies. We might get out of order a little bit. It's fine. We're going to go Ghostbusters 2.
I thought it was going to be He-Man.
Ghostbusters 2. A lot of people know that the Ghostbusters 2 Proton Packs were just the Ghostbusters 1 Proton Packs that had been refitted with things. The ribbon cable is the most notable thing that is different. If you have seen both movies, a lot of people who are just casual watchers of the Ghostbusters movies don't even realize that the Proton Packs are different, but they are. They are only a little bit different. And I'm not going to go through every single little detail of things that's different. If you're a hardcore Proton Pack guy, like a lot of people who might be watching this video are, you know what the differences are. The ribbon cable is the biggest one, and I will show the differences when I go to edit this video. So I'll pop that on the screen and show you the differences between the ribbon cables. And I prefer the Ghostbusters 1 ribbon cable most of the time. But as a prop maker, and my Proton Pack behind me here has a Ghostbusters 2 ribbon cable on it, simply because they're easier to get. The Ghostbusters 1 ribbon cables, and shout out to the Finchers, they started out just kind of making these ribbon cables as props in the community for our fan builds, and now they're literally making ribbon cables for the actual props in the movie. So if you watch Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I actually have another tidbit of information I'll share later, you are seeing a fan-made ribbon cable made by members of our community. So shout out to those guys. It's awesome that we went from liking all this stuff to actually being the people who are creating the stuff for the movies. That's really just mind-blowing to me. Anyway, I don't have a Fincher cable on my Proton Pack. I used to have an 80% scale Proton Pack that I did have a Fincher cable on. They make the best Ghostbusters 1 ribbon cables. There are some other people who make them, and no disrespect to those guys, I'm sure they make high quality cables, but if you want a screen accurate ribbon cable for Ghostbusters 1, the only place I would get one from is the Finchers. There's just nobody else. They're making them for the movies now. So not only are you getting a screen accurate ribbon cable, you are getting a screen accurate ribbon cable, because those are the ribbon cables they are currently using in the movies. So anyway, I don't want to just talk about their ribbon cables for this whole thing, but Ghostbusters 2, the ribbon cable, the other things that are different, the crank knob is black instead of gray. I don't know why they did that, but they painted them black. So if you like a black crank knob, the Ghostbusters 2 might appeal to you more. They changed the hex cap screws that they had been using for a lot of the attachment points on the shell. They changed those to Phillips head sort of button cap screws, or like mushroom head screws, or whatever you want to call them. Just normal looking, or panhead Phillips is what they're actually called, instead of the socket cap screws that you would find on the Ghostbusters 1 pack. I'm trying to think of what the other differences are, looking at mine, because mine is, you know, a Ghostbusters 2 pack. The padding around the neck, I think, is different. The Alice frame straps are different, and it's mostly really minor things. That's the reason why a lot of people don't really see the difference when they're just watching the movie, because they don't show it close enough. But us hardcore, we know. But with all of that being said, because the differences are so minor, and because I do think they definitely like needed to have a little bit of a change, since so much time has passed, and I think Egon would have like made a few minor changes to it, I'm still gonna put Ghostbusters 2 in the S tier. You might not agree with me. You might not like Ghostbusters 2 as a movie. You might not think Ghostbusters 2 is the better movie or a good movie. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about whether or not the movie is good. We're talking about whether or not what the Proton Pack design was. And I think Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 are pretty much neck and neck. Ghostbusters 1 maybe slightly beats it out because it's just the original. But we're going to put Ghostbusters 2 in S tier. All right, moving right along, we're going to move on to the next movie. We got 4 Ghostbusters movies now, 5 Ghostbusters movies, depending on who you ask. The next Proton Pack we're going to talk about is going to be the Ghostbusters Afterlife Phoebe Proton Pack. Now, this one is interesting because they changed a lot of stuff, but they also didn't change very much. And I talked earlier about how I wasn't going to include the HasLab pack or any of the like toys and stuff you can buy. This is the only pack that they made a exact replica toy of that you could buy for a limited amount of time if you got in on the Hasbro HasLab deal a couple of years ago. I did get one. I ended up selling it because after I got it and I realized that I just enjoy building them more, and the Proton Pack that I have looks better. It looks more like it came out of, like it looks more screen used to me, and it can do a lot more than the HasLab can do without, and I'm just not, like, I'm not gonna get into this, but like all of the extra stuff that the Afterlife pack had just doesn't really appeal to me. I don't care about the removable cyclotron lid. It's cool. It was cool in the movie to be able to see the innards of the cyclotrons, because like we've never like explored that before. So I'll give it some extra points for that. But I really don't like some of the stuff they added to the Afterlife pack. I am okay with the green hose. I think that looks cool. But all the little extra wires on the whatever that thing is called, the EDA disc, I just don't understand it. It just seemed like they were adding stuff to add stuff. The heatsink on the side panel is kind of cool, but it just didn't really, like, they changed enough to say they changed some stuff, but it wasn't really like, you know, enough differences for me to be like, oh wow, that's awesome. Like, I've never been compelled to build an Afterlife pack. In fact, when I got my HasLab, I was almost tempted to revert it back to the 84. I also don't really particularly care for the spinning cyclotron that much. I thought that I did, but then as time went on and I got mine, I was just like, I don't really like this. I like the one light at a time cycling thing. And I know a lot of people will tell you that it was always supposed to be spinning like that, that was just a technological, you know, thing of the time where it was always supposed to be a mechanical spinning cyclotron. But I don't know, it doesn't look the same to me. It just doesn't have the same fit. I do like a lot of the sound effects. I do like how it powers up and things like that. But other than that, there's not that much to it. There's not much that makes me like really like think it's, you know, great. But because it's still on the same lineage and it still carries most of the same, you know, aesthetic as the originals, we're still gonna put it in the A tier. Maybe you don't agree with that. That's okay if you don't agree with that. That's where we're gonna put it, in the A tier. That's Phoebe's, Spengler's, Proton Pack, HasLab pack if you have one of those. So, next one we're gonna talk about the next Proton Pack. This one's gonna be slightly controversial. This one's gonna be, well, it's gonna be a lot controversial because there's no slightly controversial when it comes to Ghostbusters Answer the Call, Ghostbusters 2016, whatever you want to call it. Ghostbusters with girls, Ghostbusters with women, the movie that doesn't exist, the most hated Ghostbusters movie ever. Disclaimer, I did not dislike Ghostbusters 2016. My only problem with it is that it ignored the continuity of the original movies. I could care less that it had women in it. I could care less that Paul Feig was directing it. I could care less about most of the stuff. I just did not like that they ignored the continuity. Now, I don't know how they would have made this movie and not ignore the continuity, so I would rather this movie just have kind of never been made, but I am willing to admit that if this movie hadn't been made, we probably wouldn't have gotten Ghostbusters Afterlife nor Frozen Empire. So keep that in mind the next time you think about, you know, how much you hate Ghostbusters 2016, and think about the fact that those other two movies probably only happened because of Ghostbusters 2016. Just throwing that out there. So, but let's talk about the Proton Pack, because we're not here to talk about whether you like the movie or not. We're talking about the design of the Proton Pack, and there's a lot to unpack here. And so we're just going to basically say, you know, this is the first time that the Proton Pack kind of deviated heavily from the original design. It's kind of a completely different thing. The basic concept of it being a backpack that has like a wand thing that shoots lasers or whatever, not lasers, proton beams. That's basically where the design similarities end. It does have a cyclotron, but it's more the way like an actual cyclotron would work. So I'll give it extra points for like actually being more realistic than any of the other ones. But to me, it looks kind of like it was like thrown together and they didn't really put as much thought into the actual design. You can tell the little box at the bottom looks like a toolbox. I guess that's what it is. I don't know. And I do, I can say that, if you're a fledgling ghost busting hunting business and you're building equipment for your business and you're just throwing stuff together, this might be what it looks like. This might be what it comes together. I don't like the wand at all. I think the wand looks too big and like just cumbersome. The pack itself, I'm okay with, but I don't like the wand really at all. I do like the barrel shroud section, which looks like they kind of borrowed that for Frozen Empire, which we'll talk about later. I did like the proton stream effects in the movie, even though that's not what we're talking about. And I did like how the Faraday cage or the cyclotron or whatever lit up. I did like that part of it. But other than that, I wasn't really like super impressed by it. I wasn't like wowed by it or anything, but I don't think it's the worst looking prop in the world. So, I don't want to spend too much time. I'm not going to trash it because I don't even think it's that bad of a design. I just don't think it holds a candle to the originals. But I also don't think it's like really, really terrible either. So I'm torn. I kind of want to put it in the D tier, but then people are going to be like, you're just trashing Ghostbusters 2016. So then I sort of want to put it in the C tier because I do think it is better than some of these other ones that I'm gonna go over next. But honestly, I do think it probably needs to go. Yeah, it probably needs to go in the D tier. So we'll put it in the D tier. Hopefully nobody's mad about that. And if you are, it is what it is. All right, Ghostbusters 2016 D tier. Okay, we're going through these pretty quick. I don't want this video to be super long. I would like to discuss it. You can feel free to discuss any of these Proton Packs. Give me your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings, your hatred, your love for any of these. And if I missed something or a little tidbit of information that you think is important that people might need to know about, let me know in the comments, because I would love to know, more about how, these Proton Packs work, or if there's just some interesting design choice that I left out. So anyway, moving along, we're getting into, past the movies here. We got one more movie that we haven't talked about. I'm going to save it for later because I don't want to just go movie. So we're going to take a break from the movies and we're going to go to the cartoon. So we're going to start with the Real Ghostbusters cartoon, which I talked about a little bit earlier. Now, like me, for some people, the Real Ghostbusters was their introduction to Ghostbusters. They didn't even see the movie. And, there's a lot of stories about the legal troubles between why the cartoon is different than the movie, why is Egon blonde, why are their suits different colors, all that good stuff. And that has to do with licensing and all that stuff that I won't get into in this video. But the Proton Packs are, once again, heavily inspired by the OG's packs. The only difference really being is that they're cartoons, so there's a lot of, instead of being more technical looking with all of these little different parts, it's more like larger shapes, and they added some color. There's like a red cylinder thing, and there's a yellow cylinder thing, and the bumper is like a silver color, and the wand has like the brown sort of. If you had the toy as a kid, you know what I'm talking about, the blue Proton Pack with the red stickers, and you had the little foam pool noodle proton stream sticking out of the candle that everybody lost and didn't have theirs at some point because it just fell out. But anyhow, that is the Proton Pack that I feel like as I was a kid, that's the one that I was like trying to build for myself because I was a kid, and that's just what spoke to me. And I think for a cartoon, I don't really think they could have done any better job in translating the design. I really like the yellow hose. I've always wanted to build a real Ghostbusters replica, but I want to build one that looks like the cartoon and not necessarily a replica of, or like I've seen people build like full-size versions of the toy, and we all had the toy when we were a kid, but I think because of that, because of all those reasons, it could go in S tier. It definitely could. It could go, the Real Ghostbusters cartoon Proton Pack could definitely be S tier because it's a cartoon. It's a little bit different. The design choices I think are perfect for the medium, but I don't think it's quite as good. I don't think it's quite as memorable and as recognizable. So I think we're gonna put it in the A tier. How do we feel about that? Do we think this is the right choice? We could go B, but we could go B. No, I think I'm gonna leave it in A. I think I'm gonna leave the Real Ghostbusters pack in the A tier, along with the Afterlife Proton Pack. Okay, moving right along. We're just blasting through these like a proton stream, like a nuclear particle accelerator. The next one we're going to discuss is going to be the Ghostbusters video game Proton Pack. Now, we're going back to the original design with this one. This was a video game that came out, I believe, in 2009. It is arguably the best Ghostbusters video game to exist up until this point, where you basically got to play as a rookie who is joining the Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters. It is voiced by all of the original Ghostbusters, including Harold Ramis. So this is the last time you get to hear Egon's voice in a Ghostbusters movie or project. A lot of people think of it as Ghostbusters 3 because the storyline in it was pretty strong and it followed the continuity of the first two movies. I happen to think that this video game is like one of the best, not just one of the best Ghostbusters games, but one of the best games in general. I've played through it so many times. That being said, when you're playing through the game, as you're going through the levels, you're able to unlock different upgrades and things for your Proton Pack. So the Ghostbusters video game Proton Pack has a lot of additions that the other ones don't. The most notable is that there's like a slime tank, because your Proton Pack also doubles as a slime blower at one point in the game, and you have like a miniature version of the slime canister from Ghostbusters 2. And we're not talking about slime blowers in this video, just Proton Packs. And you can change all different modes. The lights in the cyclotron will change from red to blue to green, depending on what the mode is. And this is where, and a lot of people have this on their Proton Packs. I just added it to mine, and I just did a tutorial video about it. If you want to watch a tutorial about how to add smoke and an overheating effect to your Arduino Proton Pack, you should click right here, and I can show you how to do that. But that came from the video game. It wasn't ever in the movies. The overheating feature where you hear that meh, 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 and then smoke comes out of the infilter, that was never in any of the movies. It was a thing that was added in the video game. So for you accuracy nuts out there, if you add the smoking overheating effect to your Proton Pack thinking that it's canon to the movies, it's not. It was only in the video game. I think it's cool, and I'm glad they added it. I think it's like, it makes sense for it to do. And not only that, the bumper would like sort of protrude when the pack overheats, which I thought was really cool. And I know at least one person, I know the Finchers that I talked about earlier, have done this mechanism in a fan-built Proton Pack, and it looks really cool. I have no idea how the hell to do that, so I'm not gonna even attempt it. And I saw a post from someone in one of the Facebook groups the other day. Someone is working on a video game Proton Pack and have managed to get the fins on the crank box to flip up like they do in the video game. The video game has a lot of extra like little animation sequences that I think would be really hard to do in a real life scenario, but it's a video game, so you can do whatever. But with all of that being said, as cool as all of that sounds, it's a little too much for me. I'm a minimalist. I'm a simplistic guy. I like the simple designs. I like the like I said, the S tier OG. That's gonna always be it for me, and that's the reason why I have a Ghostbusters 2 pack. I probably won't ever have any of the other ones. They just don't appeal to me. But I can recognize how cool all of that other stuff is, especially for a video game. And so I think I think it deserves to be in the B tier. That's what I think. I think the video game pack is close enough to these others. I don't think it beats out the cartoon, but I do think it is good enough to be up here in the top 3 in the B tier. All right, we're making our way through these. If you are enjoying this video and you like the content that I've been producing lately, please make sure to leave me a like. Subscribe if you like watching this video and you want to see more stuff like it. You want to get notified anytime I make new videos. Just smash the bell, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. You know the drill. Let's get back into it. So the next one that we're going to talk about is going to be, let's go back to the cartoons. Let's go back to the cartoons. A lot of people, I don't know, maybe not a lot of people. I actually didn't watch this one that much because this was like after I went through a phase where, like, you know how you like something and you're super fan of it for a while and you like it so much that you get burned out on it and then you don't like it for a while, but you still like it, but you're just not as into it. I went through a phase like that with Ghostbusters. I've gone through that phase with a lot of different things, but I've done it with Ghostbusters a couple of times where I'll like be really into it for a while and then my interest will shift. I'll like Power Rangers more for a time, or I'll like Ninja Turtles or something more for a time. So I'll be like, all my time will go to that. But I think I just completely kind of skipped the Extreme Ghostbusters. Like I watched like a few episodes of it and I've gone back and watched a lot more of it as an adult, but I didn't really watch it when it was on. So I don't really have, as fond of a love for it as a lot of people probably do. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like this Proton Pack at all. I think it just looks bulky and doesn't make any sense. Like if you like it, that's cool. It looks like you're wearing like a leaf blower, on your back. And every time I see somebody leaf blowing in my neighborhood, I think they're wearing an Extreme Ghostbusters Proton Pack. So if you think that looks cool, then, it's got the hazard stripes. We always like slapping hazard stripes on everything, but I just think that's lazy design. I think they were trying to go for something different. They were trying to look more extreme, but they really just kind of didn't succeed. You look like you're a yard worker, like a lawn man, if you have on one of these. So I didn't think I was going to put anything in the F tier, but I'm putting it in the F tier. I just don't like it. If you like it, I'm sorry that I insulted it. And you like what you like, I'm not going to rag on you at a convention if you're wearing an Extreme Ghostbusters Proton Pack. So yeah. All right, we're making our way. Now, if you have a keen eye, you may have noticed there's something a little different. I've added a new challenger into our contest here. If you know what I've added, if you know which Proton Pack I just added that wasn't there before, let me know in the comments. We're not going to talk about it just yet, but I just wanted to see if anyone noticed that I made a little switcheroo here, added a little extra. My brain, I said earlier, like if there were any Proton Packs that I missed, let me know. And then I remembered one that I thought was pretty important to add to this list. It's a little different, a little out there, but we're still going to talk about it. We're going to add it into this tier list, but we're not going to talk about it just yet. So moving along, we're going to go back to the movies. We're going to talk about the latest movie that just came out, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say right out of the gate that I'm not particularly a huge fan of the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire Proton Packs. I absolutely find the yellow thong bumper to be hideous. I like that it's yellow. I don't like that it has the third leg. I don't understand its purpose. I don't understand the design choice. And I just don't think it looks cool. I think it looks like my cyclotron is wearing a pair of thong underwear. And so I just can't get that image out of my head. My Proton Pack will never have one on it at any point. If you want to learn how to make one or 3D print one, I can help you with that, but I will never put one of those on my Proton Pack. So I know I'm sounding kind of negative, but there are some things I like about it. I do like, as I mentioned earlier, I like the barrel shroud thing that makes it look like it was going to be converted into a flamethrower. And if you've seen the movie, which I hope you've seen it by now, I really think they missed the mark on explaining all of these upgrades. I thought they were going to explain the reasoning for the bumper, which they didn't. I thought they were going to explain why they even made all these upgrades. There's one little tiny scene where Ray says something to the effect of, oh, look, these are really good new upgrades.
Narrow the stream intensification, terrific new improvements.
But he doesn't really explain why. And then a few minutes into the movie, once they start using this new equipment, it's completely ineffective against the bad guy. Like if you get upgrades, I feel like they should do something. And so it was just completely wasted because the upgrades did nothing. Like the Proton Packs were essentially just as useless as they were before against Garaka. So they might as well not have even had the upgrades because there was no reason for them to have them. It would have been even much cooler if they would have said, oh, okay, so guys, in order to fight our new threat, your proton throwers can now shoot flames in addition to the proton stream, which will, weaken Garako. But they didn't do anything. It was just the same. It didn't do anything. So I don't really like the pistol grip or whatever it is on the barrel thing. Some of the stuff just didn't make any sense. Just like Afterlife, they added stuff for the sake of adding it. And I just it just doesn't really appeal to me. I'm trying to think. Oh, I do. Some people feel some kind of way about the little side hazard stripes, like the diagonal hazard stripes that they put on the side panel. If you have a HasLab pack, they call this like the snack compartment. One of the guys in my Ghostbusters group, Atlanta Ghostbusters, he hates that part of it, but he likes the bumper. And so because he thinks it looks cartoony, which I can see that. That's valid. I actually like that part of it. I think that's cool because it's subtle enough that it looks like, okay, cool, this is a new Proton Pack, so there's a few little subtle changes that don't really do anything, that you don't gotta explain them. But when you do something like as drastic as add a third leg to the bumper and make it yellow, but don't explain what it's for, I don't understand that. So a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, and I understand. And leave me some mean comments and let me know how wrong I am, because you probably don't agree with me. And I said this earlier, it's hard sometimes when you start putting more of these things on the list and you start going, okay, well, this is better than this, but this is not better than this. So you're gonna think that I'm completely wrong when I say that the Frozen Empire pack is C tier and the 2016 pack is D tier. They're that close to each other to me. In fact, I think these could be interchangeable. I actually think, you know what? I'm gonna make the 2016 C tier, and I'm gonna make the Frozen Empire pack D tier. I think they deviated so much without actually changing anything to the point that I like this better. I don't know. I just like it better because at least they did something different. All right, so we got a couple more to go. Hopefully you've gotten your tissues out. You've done your crying for the previous choice. I'm sorry if I ruined your day by putting Frozen Empire lower than Answer the Call. Again, this is my personal preference. Your list might be different. Totally cool. But moving along. We're gonna go to one of these off the wall Proton Packs, and some of you might not even know this, but if you went to Universal Studios Orlando back in the 90s, they used to have a Ghostbusters stage show that I never got to witness. When we go on vacation, in hotels, you'll go in the front of the hotel and they'll have this little rack with all of these little brochures for different cool touristy things for you to do there. There's always one that's full of Orlando stuff. And as a kid, I would always grab the Universal Studios one because it always had stuff about the Ghostbusters stage show in it. And they also they used to have Ecto 1 would drive through the park and guys dressed as Ghostbusters. And this is a fun fact I'll share. A while back, I work at Medieval Times. I don't know how many people that you know that.
When all others have proved faithless and despair scales the walls of the stronghold.
But I work at Medieval Times in Atlanta, and for a little short stint, I was asked to travel to California to help out at the California Medieval Times. And while I was there, I met one of their cast members who I found out worked at Universal in Orlando in the 90s and played one of the Ghostbusters. He knows or worked with Wayne Brady, because a lot of people don't realize that Wayne Brady played Winston, who's from Whose Line Is It Anyway? If you don't know who that is, he's pretty popular comedian now. But he played Winston during the old Ghostbusters Universal days, and so this guy was telling me all his little stories that he had about his time at Universal, and he was like, Wayne Brady was kind of an asshole and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know how true that is, but shout out to Wayne Brady if you're watching this. I don't think you're an asshole. But I actually have pictures. I went back and tracked down and looked and found he's in the guy that I talked to or met, and I kind of made friends with him. He's a really nice guy. He's in a lot of the pictures with like kids and stuff from the 90s when he played. He told me he played Egon and Peter and Ray. All three of the white guys. Yeah, of course he did. But yeah, that was kind of a cool thing. I kind of fangirled about that a little bit. But a lot of people don't know that the Proton Packs that they wore in Universal were not like exact replicas of the ones from the movie. They were actually kind of close enough. I think they look cool to be, theme park props or whatever. And I'll show you some pictures. I'll blow up a picture and show you bigger what they look like so you can see what I'm talking about, because, if you're just like looking from a distance, they kind of look the same, but they do have some pretty major differences. But I think the difference is, I don't know. There's just something about them I like, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. You're probably gonna be like, well, why do you like this, but you don't like the stuff they added to the other packs? I think it's because the overall design is still the same. The things they added were just kind of like, when you're a prop maker and you're trying to make a prop on a budget, and you're just looking for items that look close to the thing they used. So you're just like, oh, this box I found at Goodwill, this will work. I feel like that's what they did, and to me, that's just cool. So, Universal Studios Proton Pack, I think is gonna be D tier, because I think it's not better than the Answer the Call Proton Pack, but I think it's on the same level as the Frozen Empire Pack. Maybe a little better. Maybe, you know what? No, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I'm gonna put it in C tier because I don't know. There's something about it. It's part of my childhood. It just had the charm that those things had, because they look kind of gaudy, but they just still kind of look cool. It looks like a scientific thing that could do some damage, and I just like that about it. So we're gonna put it there. You probably won't agree with me. That's totally fine. But yeah, Universal Studios. I would highly suggest, if you haven't, look up some old videos of the Universal Studios stage show. They've actually just, and I was gonna talk about this too. They actually just started a new movie parade at Universal, and I'm planning to go. And also, Universal is having their Halloween Horror Nights event for this year. They're bringing back the Ghostbusters haunted houses. I went several years ago when they had Ghostbusters as one of the haunted houses. It was really awesome. It was fun. It wasn't scary, but it was super fun. And I don't expect this one to be any different. This is going to be Ghostbusters Frozen Empire theme, however you feel about that. But I've seen some videos recently of the parade. The parade looks cool. I was hoping to see the Ecto, because there was rumors that they had bought a car, a 59 Cadillac, to make an Ecto out of. So maybe they're still working on that, but I did not see a car. But I think the video I saw was just a test run of the parade. And the Ghostbusters did have Proton Packs again. They were not wearing these. They were wearing what appeared to be maybe modified full-size Spirit Halloween toy packs. So they look more accurate than these, but I don't think they have the same charm, to me. So I don't know necessarily how I feel about them yet. I'll have to see more of it. I definitely like these more, the old ones, but that's just probably my nostalgia talking. But yeah, if you happen to be in Universal, definitely check out the Universal movie. I don't know what it's called. It's like a movie themed parade, and go to Halloween Horror Nights for the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire haunted houses. All right, we're down to the last three. Do you know which one I added? Remember, I mentioned earlier that I added an extra one. Do you remember? Do you know now which one is the one that I added after the fact that wasn't here originally? Let me know in the comments. Next, going back to the cartoon, we're going to talk about a Proton Pack that you do not wear on your back. The first that I know of Proton Pack that you do not wear on your back. It is from the comic book, the Tainted Love, I think is what it's called, Tainted Love pack. It is basically an arm-mounted proton pack. You have sort of the thrower portion on your wrist, and then the actual proton pack is just another separate attachment that's further up your arm, and it has its own little cyclotron and stuff. I think the idea of this is cool, but it loses a little bit of the awesomeness, because I think there's just something iconic about a guy in a jumpsuit with a giant scientific looking backpack on with some kind of like gun or wand or you know, or whatever that's attached to it. I think you can make all these, you know, portable things, and like obviously as time progresses and as we do in real life, we make things smaller, lighter, faster, all that good stuff. So it's the natural progression of things, I get that, but there's just something about seeing a guy with a heavy proton pack on that's just, you're never gonna get that feeling with any of these wrist stuff. I think they're great as props for people who can't, you know, wear a heavy proton pack anymore on their backs and stuff like that. And I think it's a cool like additional piece of equipment, which I will talk about in just a second when we get to the other wrist proton pack that I also included, because technically I guess it is a proton pack. It's not really a pack. So you can arguably say that neither of these belong on the list because they're not packs technically. But you know, some people like this. I don't really think it's very cool. I don't like it that much. I do think it's better than the Tainted Love or the Extreme Ghostbusters Proton Pack. So you could argue that it could go in E or F. I like it better than, I just don't like this thing at all. So I'm gonna put it in E. I think it's good enough. I think it's innovative enough to be higher than being a leaf blower. So we're gonna go with that. All right, we're almost done. I know you're got a lot of opinions, a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts. Maybe you're angry, maybe you're sad, maybe you're just like, what the heck is this guy thinking? Why did he put 2016 as high as he did? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Let me know in the comments. Last two, where are they gonna go? We don't know. One of these wasn't here earlier. Have you figured out which one it is yet? Let me know in the comments. So before we get to the final one, we're gonna talk about the other wrist-based Proton. It's not really a pack because there's no pack, but this was introduced in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It is Janine's wrist thrower. Here, baby. So we're gonna pause and then we'll finish this up in just a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I have a newborn and that's what happens. You gotta stop and take care of it. So we're back. Last two, let's talk about it. Janine's wrist thrower. I think Lucky uses it for a short time to test it in the movie. I think this thing is really cool. I think they took the Tainted Love comic book Proton Pack and did what I would have done. They got rid of the little pack part of it and just made it a wrist-mounted thrower. So there's no pack. I'm still gonna go back and say, just like I was saying before, that I don't particularly care for any kind of Proton Pack design that doesn't involve a pack on your back. So it's definitely gonna lose points for that. But I think for someone like Janine, who is, you know, she's older now, she's not gonna wanna wear a heavy Proton Pack on her back, but she still wants something to like define her as a Ghostbuster. I think it looks really cool. I think it looks really cool in that respect. And this is gonna be a controversial choice because, like I said, the more things that you put on this list, the more you start to question whether or not you ranked things in the order they should be ranked. And sometimes you might want to go back and change some. I don't necessarily think this is going to be a case of that. I just think this is going to be a case where I'm looking at the choices that I made, and some people are just not going to agree where I place this because of this design and why, you know, and its impact as far as it being a new piece of technology and kind of like the direction in which the Proton Pack kind of went in. And because I really freaking hate the stupid yellow thong bumper, I was debating putting it in E tier with the other wrist Proton Pack, but because they got rid of the stupid looking half pack on the arm with the hose, I think it's higher than this. But I don't think it's tied for the thong bumper. But I also don't think it's necessarily better than the 2016 pack. Definitely not better than the video game pack. Probably not even better than the Universal pack. But I do think it's either on the same level as or slightly better than the thong bumper, just because of how much I dislike the thong bumper. The only reason why I didn't put the Frozen Empire Proton Pack in F tier is because everything else about it is OG. So if they had done something different, or just got rid of the third leg and just kept a yellow bumper, I think this would have ranked a lot higher for me. So I think because of that, I'm gonna put the Janine's wrist thrower in the C tier. Sorry guys. Sorry Frozen Empire fans. All right, one more, last one. This is the one I added, if you haven't figured it out by now. So, if you watch the Ghostbusters, Real Ghostbusters cartoon, there is an episode, might be more than one episode actually, but I know there's at least one episode where the Ghostbusters are facing ghost versions of themselves called the People Busters. And they have their own versions of Proton Packs that are kind of the exact opposite of the Proton Packs that the human versions of the Ghostbusters have. And it's basically like a tank, just a giant tank filled with like green ectoplasm looking slime, and it has floating eyeballs floating around in it. And the thrower is basically just a bunch of bones and random like body parts looking stuff that is like shoved together to make the thrower. And I don't know how it all works, but I just think it looks really cool in a really kind of disturbing way. And if you know me personally, you probably know that I have one of these. I'll show you a picture because I don't have it in here. I built one of these People Buster packs. I think I might be one of like 3 people who have built one of these things. And there's no plans for it. There's no 3D printed plans. There's no anything. So I had to figure out how to do this completely from scratch. There's a few little threads on the internet that kind of show you what other people have done. Some people have used like water jugs and actually put like water in it, and it's like, that's too heavy. Have you tried, you know how much weight a water jug holds? Like 40 pounds, 40 or 50 pounds. I'm not carrying around actual liquid. So I've devised a way, and I might do a tutorial about how to build one of these, because to my knowledge, and not to toot my own horn, I'm pretty sure mine is the best one that I've seen for a lot of reasons. One, because it actually looks like the one from the cartoon, and because it's super light, it weighs almost nothing. And I had a very specific way that I did that I can show for anybody who wants to build their own. And I'm actually working on a 3D model for a better thrower for it, because the one that I built with it was just like literally just a bunch of crap I found at Goodwill and shoved together. So with all of that being said, and also if you've seen my cosplay before, if you've gone to Dragon Con, if you've gone to any of the Atlanta conventions, you've probably seen me. I do Beetlejuice as if he were a People Buster, because in my brain I was thinking Beetlejuice is a bio-exorcist. He's basically there to get rid of people, so he's the ultimate People Buster. And of course, Universal, going back to the Universal stage show, they used to have a Beetlejuice Ghostbusters crossover, which would be a cool crossover in any media. He was not a Ghostbuster or a People Buster, but I had someone had made some People Buster patches that had like Egon, the cartoon Egon, in the which I think is even the same patch they wear in the cartoon, the People Busters wear in the cartoon. I had that put on a custom-made black and white striped pair of coveralls. I didn't use a flight suit because I didn't think Beetlejuice would wear a flight suit. I think he's more of like a coverall guy. So that I went with coveralls instead. And I can show you like a crazy light coming through the window. But with all of that being said, the People Busters pack is really cool. I really think it's one of the cooler looking packs, even though it follows none of the design choices of the other ones. So I'm gonna put it in the B tier because I don't think it's better than the OG cartoon pack, but I do think it's cooler than these other ones, and it's different, and it's so different that it's like it kind of stands out on its own. So I think that's where it belongs. Yeah, I think that's where it belongs. So yeah, People Busters pack, B tier. All right, guys, that's it. That's my Ghostbusters Proton Pack tier list. We've ranked every single one that I can think of. If there's a Proton Pack that I missed, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll let you know where I would put it in my list. How would you rank the Proton Packs? Would you put Frozen Empire a lot higher? A lot of people probably would. They probably like the yellow thong bumper. I just don't. Would you put some of the cartoon packs lower? Would you rank the Extreme Ghostbusters pack higher? You know, what was your ranking? But you can let me know in the comments. Just, you know, list out which ones that you think should go in the order. Maybe you think my order is wrong. You know, I just thought this was a fun way to like kind of go through all the Proton packs and decide. Obviously, the OG is always going to be my favorite. So, you know, that's all. That's it. That's all. That's the list. That's my ranking. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.